couple of weeks ago, I was with VIVO and their expedition, they called it, a trip to Berlin for the global release here now of the X80 Pro. So this model here promises a lot, especially in the camera department. They've partnered up with Zeiss for the design of the lenses. It's also using the lenses on this model here, their T-Star coating, which cuts down on unwanted reflections, any flare that's going to come through, and it should block out a lot of that to improve especially low light photography, which of course I'll be covering in this review. This model here is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. It does have 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, 80 watt fast charging, 50 watt wireless charging, and the screen, which is 120 Hertz, 1440p in-screen ultrasonic fingerprint reader, probably one of the best I've ever tested when it comes to fingerprint readers. And being an AMOLED screen here, it's got deep blacks and it's quite bright too. They say it can top out at 1500 nits. I'll be going through all the pros and the cons, but I wanted to make it clear, full disclaimer here, that yes, I was flown out to Berlin with VIVO, but this is not my unit here to keep. It's just a loan unit and I'm not being paid for this video at all, and because of the trip does not mean I'll be glossing over any cons of this phone. I'll let you know the full pros and cons, the full truth here of the X80 Pro, the global release. In the box of the X80 Pro, you will find the VIVO flash charge, and that's 80 watts maximum. We've got a Type A to Type C cable, some headphones, Type C ones. I briefly listened to them. They sound fine. They're nothing exceptional, but for an included set, pretty good, and most brands don't actually include them at all. SIM tray tool, paperwork. We do get a case and some silicone tips there for the headphones, some spare ones. The quality of this X80 Pro is very good. It's flagship level, definitely, and you'd expect that considering the price tag. 1,200 euros in Spain, where I live, or 1,300 in Germany. So yes, very expensive. It does weigh 215 grams. We've got here a ceramic back. Now this has a nice finish to it that it kind of sparkles. When you look at it in the sunlight at certain angles, it's got the shimmering effect, which I really do like. I think it does look good. Now the thickness of it, it's not the slimmest. It is 9.1 millimeters. We have a metal frame all around the outside. This is our volume up and down button, power right there, and the in-screen fingerprint reader. I just want to demonstrate this one because it is really good. It's probably one of the best that I have reviewed in some time. Nice wide area. It's ultrasonic and it has never failed me once. And it is just so accurate and quick. Now, through the settings of the app, you can actually set up a secure app zone, and you can use 2 fingers for the confirmation. It's that large, the area, that you're able to use 2 fingers there, which is another bonus right there. So the front-facing camera here, this one is 32 megapixels. Now, it does not support 4K video, unfortunately, which for me, considering the price tag, considering they're aiming for flagships, going against, say, the S22 Ultra, isn't great. I do find that it should have at least 4K. So this does have curved glass on the edges. Our screen I'll cover in a little bit more detail shortly, but it is 6.78 inches. It's an AMOLED panel, 120 Hertz. Cam peak, they claim 1500 nits, and it's a great screen. It's an LTPO3 spec too as well, and it's a 1440p plus resolution that it does have. So the size of it in hand's good. I can easily get to that power button. I can easily get to that fingerprint unlocking there. As mentioned, just look at how good that is. It's such a good fingerprint reader. It is quite a large looking camera module here, but I don't mind the look of it. I know some people say it looks ugly because it's not really centered. Why is the periscope camera here? Why didn't they put it there? Why is the Zeiss branding next to where the laser focus is? But the Zeiss branding, now I did go to the event in Berlin. That Zeiss did have a setup there and went over and explained it. So we've got a 7-element lens. It does have their T-Star coating, which is a very good, it's like a nano coating, really great coating on it to cut down on reflections. You know how the iPhone 13 Pro Max and iPhone 12s, all of them seem to suffer a lot from those reflections, especially in night shots. Well, that coating that's on these lenses here really does cut down on that, and you'll see later on with my camera samples. So our periscopic camera here, this is a 5x optical zoom camera. That one's 8 megapixels, a 12 megapixel 2x optical camera, 48 megapixel ultra wide, and the main camera is 50 megapixels with a very bright f1.6 aperture, and the laser assist focus is right there. Now the main camera does have optical image stabilization. It all will be covered later on with my camera samples. Does state here professional photography, so you know that the cameras mean serious business. And we've got a microphone here, IR transmitter. You can see the antenna lines too. Along the bottom, USB port is USB 3.1, supports video out, very fast data transfers. And we have a SIM slot here that takes 2 nano SIMs. So no micro SD card support, unfortunately. Microphone, loudspeaker, there are 2 loudspeakers. One's also in the earpiece. Give you a sample of those later on too in this review. What about the panel that they're using in this one? So it is a LTPO3 AMOLED and 120 Hertz. It does have a 1440p resolution. So this is the 3200 by 1440. It's sharp. It looks really good. I don't have really any complaints with it at all, just minor nitpicking. And that is that because of the curvature of the screen, right on the edges, you see how it's shifting out a little bit of a blue tint there with the white. You do get that. Now, I'm someone that, call me maybe old school, old fashioned, whatever. I prefer a flat AMOLED or OLED screen. I still think they're the best. Sure, when you're holding it, the curvature does feel a little bit better in hand. And when you're swiping, especially with those gestures with the curved edge, it does feel better. And I do hear people in defense of the curved screens also comment on that many times in my reviews. So the screen touch is very good to the touch response rate, really good. I've had no problems with it. Now, it is a panel too as well that does have a lot of different settings in here that you're able to adjust. Now, most of them are your standard Android 12 settings, okay? So I won't go over those. We all know them, but we do have this, so you can override the resolution. Now, for the entirety of this review and the time I've been testing this phone out, I am using 1440p. I mean, after all, that's what you're getting, so why would you downgrade the screen? It's like buying a 4K TV and only playing 1080p content on it. You get the idea. So refresh rate, you can override this. Sadly, there's no 90 Hertz option there. So what about the screen brightness? Now, they do say that it can peak at 1500 nits. I've never been able to measure anything close to that. In direct sunlight, it's perfectly viewable, and I'm getting just over 1100 nits. So 1500, I'm just going to have to take their word for it, but I don't think it's quite that high, but it's still bright. You can make it out, and it is an excellent screen that responds to touch. Really no problems with gestures either with it. This phone is running FunTouch OS 12, which is based off Android 12. Now, I'll be honest here and say that I never really did like FunTouch, not on the earlier Vivos that I used to buy and review. But it is getting better, and that's not just because I was sent this loan unit here from Vivo. No, it's just the way it has progressed. It's evolving, and it is getting a lot better too, which is great to see. Now, we do have here some dedicated what they call like a RAM expansion, but it's virtual memory. So this is just a caching system, so it's going to aid in the fluidity. And I've noticed that the UI is very fast, very fluid. I have not experienced any lags or problems whatsoever. It might not have as many features as, say, MIUI, but the stability and the fluidity of it is better than definitely MIUI. I really do actually like it, and I'm getting used to it. I used to have to straight away, when it was FunTouch, the older versions, I would put Apex Launcher on there straight away. With Nova Launcher, I would just completely get rid of it. No, I don't find a need to do that. So it is fine. Now, what is missing from this compared to the Chinese version with its Origin OS is we do have some really handy widgets with the Origin OS Chinese ROM version that don't seem to have pulled through with what we get on the global version right here. So I'll just show you that. I mean, there's some really good ones they did have when it came to the camera. You could jump straight into the ultra wide with a simple tap of a widget. So some minor things are missing there. Now you see here with the global version, I am picking up 5G just fine. I can also get onto LTE band 20 with this. So it is basically, it's a global modem that they are using in this. And I like the fact that they do have the cutout for the front-facing camera centered and not to the left like some other brands are presently doing. So when I first got it in Berlin in the event, they handed us all phones and tested it out. When I first, of course, powered it on, there is quite a bit of bloatware. So there's a few things to uninstall, but not that much. There you can count maybe 7, 8 or so bloatware applications. Not as bad as other brands, which are certainly a lot worse than Vivo. Now, the charge time, I've put a little note right here because it did state 20 minutes. For some reason, at 65%, it quickly cut out and then started charging again. But it did take 39 minutes to fully charge the 4,700 milliamp hour battery. For 80 watts, that's not too bad. And anything that's under an hour, I give a big thumbs up. That's still quick in my books. Speaking of fast, well, this is definitely really quite quick here, and Antutu. You can see that the GPU quite powerful, and yes, later on it does heat up a little bit. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 that is powering this is a hot chip, and I'll get onto gaming performance later on too. So the UFS 3.1 storage doesn't disappoint. Very quick there, you can see good random writes, reads, and installing apps is very fast, and the sequentials, they're really good. So definite flagship storage performance. Camera 2 API support is level 3, that's great. Open camera, Gcam ports, feel free to test those out. They will be supported. You do not need to gain root access for that. Widevine level 1 cert, and I am a broken record here. Netflix is working, but Amazon Prime Video is in standard definition with literally every single Chinese brand out there that I do test out until they eventually get around to whitelisting these devices. We do have a safety net pass. There is NFC on board. Banking apps will work, so you do not need to worry about that. Battery life. This is the fixed test, which is not real world. It's not really realistic, but it's a good way to gauge and compare this to other phones. So I did run this 1440p at 1440p and 120 hertz. So it's not a good result. What I'm getting real world use with the 1440p and 120 hertz is about 5.5 hours tops of screen on time. Not great. I wouldn't rate this as an amazing battery life, but of course, lower the resolution down and use the smart switch. You can then drag it out to about 7 hours. And our audio. So this phone, just like other flagships, sounds pretty much the same to me when it comes to voice calls. Noise cancellation, that's active, that's present. And I would rate it as being, well, yeah, the same as all of those ones. Now, there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. You can use the Type-C headphones that they've included. They sound fine. They're not amazing, but they're good enough for what they've included. So I'd probably just use those. Or you can, of course, use adapters Type-C to 3.5mm. Now, the loudspeakers, just out of the earpiece here at the top, down the bottom, here is a sample of these speakers at 100%. They sound good. They're not, I would say, amazing, but they're not bad either. They're above average sounding loudspeakers. And I look at gaming performance now. So Genshin Impact, I have it on the highest possible settings. And this is just in the main town here. Now, occasionally it lags a little bit, but the performance is looking very good. On the top settings, 60 frames per second, it gets close to that, but it does dip down. You do see frame dips. Now, if you swipe from the left here, we do have this gaming mode that comes up, all the different toggles. We've got a balance mode, performance mode, is eagle eye view. So just tapping that, you'll see what it does is boost up the brightness and the contrast a little bit. You even have a WhatsApp picture-in-picture. If you send a lot of WhatsApp messages, that's actually quite handy. Recording the screen, screenshots. You can lock the brightness there too. And we do have this, which is another performance enhancer. So this is to do with the game frame rate. So we've got a frame rate boost and a stable frame rate mode too. Now, I've been testing both of them out, and I don't really see, to be honest, that much of a difference from them, but maybe it does do something. So what I'm more concerned about is just how hot is the Gen 8 going to get. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, sorry, should I say. After now about 1 hour, 45 minutes of gaming, I'm going to come back now and we'll see how hot will it get playing Genshin Impact. So temperature too high in Genshin Impact on the maximum settings. This is not great to see. Just how hot is it getting? So let's take a look at those temperatures there. So 46 degrees. We're seeing maybe a little bit over that. It's on the front of the screen. It does feel actually hotter than that. So let's have a look at the back. Similar temperatures there, 45, 46. So unfortunately, it got that hot that it's throwing that overheating error there. So I really wish that the global version had the Dimensity 9000 in it, which would probably be a little bit cooler than the super hot Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 that I have seen overheating in the OnePlus 10 Pro, the Xiaomi 12, Xiaomi 12 Pro. Pretty much every single phone that uses it, it will overheat. You get the idea. Moving over to the cameras now with the X80 Pro. If there's any camera I'm disappointed in, it's this 32 megapixel front-facing camera, especially for video. So for vlogs, you can see right now, it doesn't seem to have electronic image stabilization. And I've also noticed that you can only shoot 1080p, which for a flagship and the price of this phone, it's simply not competing with its rivals. For example, the S22 Ultra, which does have front-facing 4K 30 and 60, and the electronic image stabilization. So disappointing quality here with the front-facing vlog footage. Let's take a look at the rear cameras and how they fare. The main camera is 50 megapixels. You get 4K 30, 4K 60, and you also do get 8K 30. Now the stabilization is a combination of both optical image stabilization and electronic. It is very steady. I've not noticed any problems with the focus in video. It's sometimes with the photos I see focus issues now and then, but with video it does seem to be very good. The audio bitrate is 256 kilobits per second. It's not bad at all. And overall, I do like the video quality here that we get with the X80 Pro. I think it is good. The stabilization is great, and I'll even just demonstrate jumping up and down here. See, that is quite steady, and you can even use other modes, which are the super steady modes basically, but it lowers down the resolution. The ultra wide is 48 megapixels, and it does have, just like the main sensor, some very impressive stabilization. And when I pan around, you occasionally see a little bit of judder come through. This is a typical Android trait. So what I'm going to do now is jog ahead, and you can see that stability very good here with the VIVO X80 Pro. So as you saw from the camera samples, that sometimes the focus can be out, sometimes the selfie cam can overexpose, and what I did notice is that the vlog video performance with this model, just like the X70 Pro Plus, is disappointing. Front-facing camera video footage, only 1080p, no electronic image stabilization. Come on, Vivo, you need to get that sorted out. Now, the overheating that I did see when gaming with very demanding games, pushing it really, really hard. Here in summer, ambient temperature is about 26 degrees Celsius. Again, that's not good. Now, it's a common issue with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 in my experience. I have seen so many phones now overheating. The only ones that don't overheat playing demanding games for long periods are the fan-cooled phones like the Red Magic 7 and Red Magic 7 Pro. They're the only ones. It's a very hot chipset from Qualcomm. So really, it's a great phone. There's a lot to like about it. Build quality, the screen, the resolution of that screen, very sharp, looks great. The cameras can take some really good photos. I do like the Zeiss color profile, which is the profile I used in the samples I showed you. You got plenty of versatility with the ultra wide, the zoom cameras on there too as well. So it's really good. And FunTouch OS is improving, which is great. FunTouch OS, a lot better than what it used to be. So it's great to see that they're really pushing ahead, Vivo, and I like what I'm seeing. However, the price point for this one, 1,200 euros here in Spain for this model, or 1,300 euros if you live in Germany. 100 euros more, I don't know why. I guess it's local law, taxes, or whatever. So it's a pricey phone. I hope they can work on that pricing and some firmware updates to help fix the overheating and just tweak and improve upon the camera performance there. So thank you so much for watching my review here, the full story of Vivo's X80 Pro.